Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 136. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and we're excited to have with us the award-winning and internationally celebrated children's book author and illustrator, Arthur Strangekin. Arthur,
Woo!
how you doing?
Good, and you?
Good. And so, congratulations! I've discovered you through our mutual connection we have with Bethany Stahl, who just did her first annual Self Puppy Awards back in December, and then on there you won the award on there from the Self Puppy Awards, and through that checked out your book, and I got to tell you, it was fun, and before we got on the air, I was reading that book to it was the bedtime story that I was doing for my two little ones. So definitely, folks who are listening or watching, check out the book Not a Fox. You can get it right at strangekinpress.com, correct?
That's it. Yeah.
So I wanted, it's like the book itself is such a fun book, and what I want us to do is first kind of like jump right into it and kind of talk about kind of like your background, Arthur, how you got into writing the children's book, and how you kind of, and then what we'll do is we can start talking about how you went through the scripting and the scripting of it, the storyboarding of it, and all that kind of stuff. And maybe we'll provide some good advice for folks out there who are looking to publish their own children's book. So tell us a bit about that, Arthur. How did you kind of get to writing the book?
Sure. Where to start? So like, do you wanna know like how I came to, I don't know, like thinking about the career?
Sure.
Or
yeah.
Like just the book, right?
Yeah. No, did the career too? How you got into that?
The whole thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So it all started when I was born. No, I'm kidding. Okay, but I will take you back at least very short story on primary school, high school, and then after that, right? So in primary school, I knew that I was a good artist, but I was a bit rebellious in that. So I was that kid that like people knew could do good art, but I also would do my own thing a lot, right? So like, and I have a specific example of like, you know, the teacher had asked us to do a chameleon and a tortoise, and I can't remember what else I did this to, but I had a phase where I think it was like a Coca-Cola ad or something on TV.
Yeah.
And I had a phase where I would like do the assignments, but I would like put sunglasses on the character and make them hold a Coca-Cola, like have a Coke and a smile, you know? So like the teacher would be like, you know, they'd look at it and go, yeah, this is good, but this is not what I asked for. So I would get like B's and C's, you know, but like, yeah, I didn't care. Because like the reaction of the rest of the class was awesome. You know, they'd be like, what are you doing? It looks cool, but that's not what the teacher asked. And I'd be like, whatever, it's fine, right? So anyway, so then I started sketching, and I kind of sketched randomly here and there. Then the next funny story about me was in high school. So in high school, I thought to myself, okay, cool, I'll take art because I like art.
Right.
So I think it's grade 8 and grade 9. You're supposed to do 10 subjects that included art, and then in grade 10 you choose your 6 subjects, right? So one of those could have been art for me. But like my experience of grade 8 and grade 9, like I did not understand how the art teacher would score stuff. Because like to me, like you make art from the heart, right? And you make it to move people.
Right.
So like I would like do that, and I'd submit it, and I'd get like marked against criteria that I really just didn't understand. So in a weird move for me, like I didn't take art in high school, which was, I don't know, like maybe a bad choice. I have no idea, because it kind of like died for a good couple of years, because then I joined after high school. I tried some stuff at university, didn't do so well there. Started working at a bank. Luckily, I had an art-related opportunity at the bank where I started developing e-learning. So that's like online training, right? And in there, I had a chance to get into design, and then that was kind of my career for like 7 years, just doing working in learning and development and doing e-learning development, right?
Right.
So there is where I got the opportunity to learn about to learn how to use like Illustrator and InDesign, the Adobe stuff. Anyway, so then I kind of got. I feel like I got burnt out, because I'm like the type of person that when I get work, I put my all into it, right? So I kind of burnt out on that career, and I decided I needed like a life change and whatever. Fast forward to probably 3 years ago, I quit my job, and I thought, let me make an effort towards this whole picture book thing. So this brings me to, and I really hope that I have some advice for other authors, because this is my first book, and it took me, I have to tell you, I maybe have like a very basic but like sort of lesson for other artists that probably has nothing to do with the actual illustration or the making of the book. But like during those 3 years, I feel like I spent the majority of the time fighting with myself about I don't know, just like motivation to do it, and getting over I don't know, procrastination, and getting over imposter syndrome and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
If I looked at the book itself, I feel like it took, and again, this is like I said earlier before the call, like I'm really bad with dates sometimes. So I'm gonna rough it out for you. I feel like it took between 3 and 6 months to do this book. And that's because I had a whole bunch of things going on in between. I really don't know. I think next time when I do the next book, I'm going to start tracking it to check the actual timing, right?
Right.
But yeah, that was like what, middle of last year. So what I have been doing for the rest of the time, I really can tell you. I mean, I was contracting and stuff, I still got to keep the lights on.
Right.
But yeah, did that answer your question?
It did, yes. Yeah, no, it's good.
Okay.
So talk to us a bit about, as well as, so this is, like I said, this is self-published, and what were some of the steps that you had to do? For those folks out there that would say, "Hey, I got a book. I don't know what to do with it. I put it together. Arthur, help me out. How did you get that? How'd you get those stars on there? How did you get people to read it? How did you submit it to places to get noticed?"
Whew. Okay. So it's funny that you asked that, because that's actually a weak spot that I have come to realize. So I'm very happy with the book. I'm very happy with the way that it was written, and especially for my first illustrated sort of product. Like, I'm very happy with it.
Right.
I definitely think there's areas of improvement, but I have no doubt that with every book, like, I'll learn more and I'll get better and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things that was really exposed for me during this process was that I suck at the marketing side of things. And like, I'm part of children's books groups on Facebook, and I kind of check their the conversations going on and whatnot, and just I suppose that was also some of the stuff that I was doing during that 3 to 6 months is looking at how I can get the word out there.
Right.
So I don't know if I have advice for other people, because I feel like I've sucked at it.
Right.
I submitted it to the self pubbies. I did a couple of other things that were unfortunately like pay for, you know. So I'm sure you've heard of about that before. There's a lot of pay for sort of marketing where I don't know, like you pay $20 or $30 or whatever, and you know people will share it on their social medias and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't feel like I got a lot of sort of mileage out of those things.
Okay.
So yeah, really bad answer to your question, but just to follow on from that, it's funny. Like in the past, so I made a decision at the end of last year to really start to focus on that, and the decision back then was to start building my own audience, because that's what I was noticing was a lot of the paid for marketing stuff was really just saying, here's a paywall up front for you to access my audience. And that really, you know, that can only go so far. And look, I do have to mention that there are a lot of self-published authors that do really, really well with, you know, feet to the pavement, pound the pavement, whatever you want to call it, talk to a lot of people, you know, run the whole social media campaign thing. I know I'm bad at all of that. Like, all you got to do is go to my Instagram. I've got like one post right now. So I know. I'm very introverted. I know it's something that I do have to get better at. But so the decision that I made at the end of last year was to sort of work on my website a bit more, work on the blog, start pulling some traffic in so that I can build my own mailing list and my own audience. That has since shifted. So it's funny, in the last 2 weeks, I've kind of gone through like a completely different sort of change. So that stuff is still on the books for this year.
Right.
But what's kind of come up as a new idea that I want to focus on right now in the beginning of the year is literally in the last like 2 weeks, I had how many? I think 3 book ideas and like a 10-book series. And it's like the craziest thing because part of the decision to focus on the blog was like, okay, I'm not going to write anymore until I get at least, you know, this much traffic on my website. So I'm going to put all of that down. I'm going to focus on this. And then the ideas start coming, right? As soon as you say, I'm not going to do it, then the ideas start coming. So I had a couple of ideas there. Then, I don't know how I came across this concept, but like I started looking at literary agents, funny enough.
Okay.
So, yeah. So literary agents are kind of like the pathway to traditional publishing. And yeah, I just figured, you know, it appealed a lot to me because it became very clear that because I'm so new to this whole thing, and I'm still contracting on the side, so I don't have that much time, and I want to focus on the book, it became very clear that I needed someone else with a lot more experience than me. You know, having said that, I have done a lot of children's book courses. Again, that's probably what I was doing during the 3 years of time that I wasn't writing, was procrastinating by learning from other people. I don't know. It was kind of productive, right? But I do have to say, during those courses, they are very scarce on the marketing side of things. So that's what made this whole literary agent thing very appealing to me. Was you know, there are these people that have like decades of experience in publishing that can advise me, that are on my side, that I can learn a lot from. Like a lot of them, not all of them, but some of them actually have like editorial background. So when you submit to them, they'll actually give you changes and revise. Others, it's not all of them. Others will kind of just take your book and forward it on to publishing houses. But like I'm looking for that kind of situation. It's not to say, by the way, that you know I'm leaving. I don't want to do self-publishing. It's literally, I've kind of just made this decision to look at this children's book career as a long-term career.
Right.
And I want to try everything, right? So I'm going to try this literary agent thing. Try having them submit to publishing houses, and if it goes badly, it goes badly. You know, I know there's a lot of people that look at going the agent and then the traditional routes as like having a bunch of hands in your profit, but one of the decisions I made was to sort of put the learning and the product first before the profit. Even though I share the same dream that a lot of authors have, which is to sort of make the full-time living from my books, I also realize I've got a lot of learning to do. Yeah.
So talk to us about, as you mentioned, like just the actual process you did.
Okay.
So, first question: where did the idea "Not a Fox" come from?
So I keep a notes on my phone called Book Ideas, and on my OneNote on the computer, and yeah, they just I'll look at random things. Like I don't really have a set process, and I don't think like ideation should be set.
Right.
I think you go through life and you'll see an Instagram post, or you'll see a book on a shelf, or you'll hear a song, or you'll someone will say something funny, and it'll spark something. And then you take that thing that gets sparked and you immediately put it somewhere so that you don't forget. And eventually you build like this backlog of stuff that, when you need a book, you just go to this list. And there's this whole bunch of stuff that you just skim through, and you just look at whatever sparks inspiration. And then, so for me, with that list, so that gets built all the time. Right, so I'll be in the shower, or I'll be driving somewhere, or I'll see an Instagram post, whatever, and I'll write something in my list. And then I feel like that again, this is just my process, right? I feel like that then goes to like a second round. So there'll be times where I have a block of time, and I'll be very excited to sort of use that time for to go towards children's books, and I'll sit down and I'll just look through that list, and it is a mess. That's why you go to second round, right? So in second round, I'll just skim through that whole thing, and I'll pick out certain things that are triggering an inspiration, and then I'll try to sort of plot something out, which is weird for me. I always thought like I was far more visual, but like I always start with the text, at least a rough text, and then from there, if that text is still inspiring me, still like I still have a feeling like there's something there,
right,
then I'll go to the next step, which is sort of thumbnailing out. And I'll show you an example. Super rough.
Okay, sure.
So I've thumbnailed out one of. You remember I told you there were 3 that I had, right? So I've thumbnailed out one of them.
Okay.
Bam! Can you see? Right there we go.
There you go.
So
okay.
There we go. Yeah. So this one's about. Oh my gosh! It's 2:00 in the morning. But please forgive me. So this one's about a boy and a monster.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what this thing was about. Boy and a monster. Oh right. Okay. So. Yeah, this whole book's about the boy trying to eat the monster. I mean, the monster trying to eat the boy.
Okay.
Yeah. and he successfully does. But that's yeah. I'm not going to share the the climax because that'll spoil things. But yeah.
So what you did is, like, for instance, like Not a Fox. You, as you said, you kind of like storyboarded it out a bit, and then. What did you use for the art itself? What did you are you a pen pen and paper person, or is it all digital? How did you put it together?
Oh, okay. So I started with pencil and paper.
Okay.
To be honest, I do not have. I mean, this is the first one, right? So I don't have my process nailed down.
Right.
I am a very process type person. So I kind of jumped. Hey, yeah, This was the first one, so I was like jumping back and forth between pencil and paper and Procreate and my Apple Pencil.
Okay.
So let me just try and remember. So initially it started on paper and pencil. Then I started one Procreate file with lots of blocks on a locked layer, and then I sketched out everything, all the sort of spreads onto
Okay.
one. Then I sort of like side by side worked on the text and the images, which I think is kind of an author illustrator thing, you know. So for me, it was very, very important to sort of leverage the fact that I am an author and an illustrator in one.
Right.
So that I can make the text play off the images, and I can make sure that the images are telling a story that the text isn't telling, but that the text is sort of juxtaposing to create like sort of either tension or humor type situations. Yeah. So once I was happy with, so then I got the sketches to a place where I was happy with it, character design, all that stuff. I have to show you one thing. Hold on.
Sure.
So I've got 3 dummies that I worked on, right?
Okay.
So you can see.
Oh, cool.
The original fox.
Right.
Oh my gosh, what am I doing with this? There we go. Yeah. So there's the original fox.
Yeah.
And the cover, and then you'll see the farmer and the chickens were really bad.
Oh, cool.
Like I wish I had. So I had an original design for the farmer where he was like a lot skinnier.
Okay.
But then somewhere along the line, I redesigned him, and this is actually a prime example of me sort of editing both the illustration and the text as we went on, because the text is the story, right? So
Right.
So there's a point in the book where you confuse, or I'm trying to make the reader confuse, the farmer with the chicken. So then that had to facilitate me designing the farmer in such a way that he kind of looks like a chicken. Right. So if you look at like this second page that you have open here, so you'll see like his cap is like kind of like a beak. His legs are like very skinny. His body's like round like the chicken, and then his like head is like very tall, right?
Right. And he's
like
got his like gloves in the back pocket too.
And he's got his gloves in the back pocket, right? So if like it's not obvious in the beginning of the book when you're seeing him in the lights, but if you look at his silhouette, like he kind of looks like a chicken.
Right.
Yeah. I forgot where I was going with that.
Right.
Oh, we were talking about the process, right?
Right.
So then I got the sketches to a place and the character design to a place where I liked it. And then I kind of packaged it up, and I engaged an editor. Shout out to Brooke Vitale, she's awesome.
Okay.
So yeah, and it's just because I really, it was my first book. I knew that I was super green, super novice, and I didn't want to sort of just show it to family and friends and they go, "Oh, it's amazing." I wanted to show it to someone that like has been in the industry a long time, and would give me honest feedback. So she did my edits, my story. And she had a lot of really great feedback, like the one the one that I loved was so I originally ended the story with the fox sort of like where the farmer had caught the fox, and he was like strung up like a crow, right, like a scarecrow at the end. So that was like his final costume change, where he was captured, and the farmer had repurposed him to be a scarecrow in the field.
Oh.
So then my wife was like, "No, you can't do it," because I'd sketched it out and everything, right?
Right.
So my wife was like, "Dude, he looks like Jesus on the cross." I was like, "No, like, kids are innocent. They're not gonna see that, right? They'll just see a scarecrow. Like, I'll dress them up like a scarecrow." And eventually, she kind of won out, and Brooke agreed. So Brooke actually suggested a different ending for the story. So I was like, okay, yeah, I can see it.
Right. Oh, so our mutual friend Bethany Stahl just says, "Hello, I love hearing that Arthur is going to try all avenues with publishing. All paths are valid and exciting to hear about it." So,
awesome!
Yeah.
Yay!
And she did say your storyboard looks great. So yeah.
Great. That is so cool.
So as you said, you kind of utilize. I love the idea that you created those kind of like. So those, what did you call those? Those books. What did you call those books again that you made? Those storyboards.
Oh, the picture book dummies.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So these guys, 3 of them. It was such a pain in the butt to make.
Would those, okay, were they, that was post storyboarding, that was in between scripting, storyboarding, then you made these, then you did the illustrations? Is that how it worked?
Okay, so I scripted the story.
Yeah.
Then I did the thumbnails. Then I put the two together, and then those two together went through several rounds of changes.
Okay.
So for myself, and I wish I could give credit to the the courses that I did on children's book making, but I did a bunch of them, and I can't remember which was which. But like what I did was I really tried to intensely question my story, right? So like one of the things that you do with your illustrations is you ask a bunch of questions like, am I using the space correctly? Like the negative space and the positive space. Am I drawing the reader's eye in a certain flow? Yeah, like this one. Like this one starts up, goes down, goes up, and then eventually lands on the silhouettes.
Right.
And then it even continues a little bit more. Like you'll see the light is drawing your eye in that direction.
Right.
Yeah. So it's stuff like that, So I would do those rounds of questioning for the illustration side, and then there was also rounds of questioning for the story side. Like, am I following a story arc? Am I building enough tension? All that kind of stuff. So I went through my own rounds of changes there, and then I went through rounds of changes with Brooke, and then the last thing is like the final polishing or the finishing off of the illustrations. And even there, like I had so many self changes for myself that I just had to start like an Excel document because I was losing track. And which brings me to, I suppose, the biggest lesson that I learned was the determination to pull all the way through. Because like there were many times from the beginning of starting the development and design of this book till the end, where I was like, man, the story sucks. No one's gonna like that. Maybe I should stop and go to another one of my story ideas. And I just had to sort of convince myself, like, no, I need to finish a product, no matter how I feel about it. And my feelings went up and down. Like that's, I hope that that's something that I can sort of resonate with other authors. I at least hope so.
Right.
That other authors are sort of feeling the same way from beginning to end of their book, where they're like, oh man, I should give up, yeah, but I had to push through. So I took all of my like scribbled notes and I put them into an Excel document, and I had a status next to it that said done, in progress, or haven't started in progress and done, and I just worked through it until I got to the end. And even during that process, you spot stuff along the way,
Right.
where you're like, oh, got to fix this, or you got to worry about your character continuity. Like the one that jumps to mind is I had changed the texture on the farmer's beard, but that was like in the middle of doing changes to all the illustrations, and I noticed that it wasn't the same on every page. So then I had to go and apply, and there were a bunch of those sort of character continuity visual stuff that I had to fix. The cave wall was another one. Like, there were just a bunch of them.
Right. So what was your? So at what point did you bring in the editor? Did you bring it in right from the first draft, or you already had your Procreate illustrations done? I guess at what point would your advice be for children's book authors to bring in an editor? Is during the scripting of it, or once you kind of have a first draft of already art laid out?
So look, I think it's probably different for author illustrators versus just straight authors, right? So for straight authors, it's after your maybe your second draft, third draft.
Right.
So you draft it out, reread it, let it marinate. Marination's a big thing. You got to let things marinate because the next morning you'll be like, oh, I've got an idea, or that sucked, or whatever, Anyway, so first draft, let it marinate. Then you do your second draft, and depending on how you feel about it, maybe do your third. But whether it's second or third, maybe then bring in your editor. I could be completely wrong about this. I'm not a straight author. so for author illustrator, I feel like the right time was when I had a bunch of, I would say, it was maybe my third iteration of sketches, where I felt like the sketches were close enough to the finals. So the third iteration of the sketches, but with the text accompanying that. So and remember, at this point there's no color, right? And I was as happy with the text as I could be on my side. That's the point that I brought in an editor.
Okay. When you were like, all right, this is something this is at a stage where I need the feedback. Other than the scarecrow piece, was there other things that through your partner and editors that kind of said, hey, listen, you need to I would change this? Was there anything else that was some other things that you really liked, you thought was good, but they said, no, I wouldn't do that?
So the one that I kind of thought a little bit about was definitely the scarecrow thing at the end. The other thing that Brooke really helped me out with was the order, funny enough, of the screens in the beginning. This is another one where my bad memory is going to kill me. But I can't remember how she reordered the beginning couple of pages.
Okay.
Going from like, like he's looking through his binoculars at the farm, and he's like planning his thing. I feel like she swapped those around.
Okay.
And then I looked at it and I was like, it was actually from that very first change where she reordered a bunch of my pages, and I even think she got rid of like one or two of them. and then I had to be like, okay, what do I put here now? But that reorder of the pages, I was like, my first reaction, because again, this is my first time I've worked with a professional editor. So I was very aware of, looking at myself and going, okay, Don, you cannot put your ego in this. You gotta give like the professional the sort of the respect that they're due. Don't fight about stuff. Just try. And I thought, cool, we're drafting here. So what's the worst that could happen? Like, she gives me feedback. I then maybe have to resketch a couple of things, change up some text, and then I'll put together another dummy, and I would have had my previous dummy, right?
Right.
So then I'll have the dummy with the changes that I may not necessarily agree with, and then I'll read both, and I'll see what the sort of experience is. Then I'll give it to my wife, and I'll let her read it, And so yeah, from that first reorder, and then me going, I'm not sure about the order of these changes. I had it in a certain order, the page order, for a reason, because it had this flow, and I was convincing myself and whatever. And then I read it, and I was like, this works way better. I was like, wow, okay. So being open to this stuff is a good thing. So then I was like, okay, she's worth the money. Just do it. Just do it. Because you're not going to see stuff, you're going to think that your stuff is awesome.
Right.
So that's the whole reason that you get like an outside person with a lot of experience in like the children's book market, like decades of looking at like lots and lots and lots of books. Part of my research was to read lots of picture books, but like there's no way I could compete like whatever it is, 10 years of putting out books through traditional publishing houses, So yeah.
So what would be your advice if somebody says, hey, I got a good book. Arthur, where'd you find your editor? Where would be a good place to start looking?
Look, I found Brooke on Reedsy.
Okay.
So Reedsy's cool because it's got a certain credibility. They also have a bunch of reviews on there. It's like their CV, right, for all these different editors. So you can read on there and just get a feel for them. Whatever sort of strikes your particular stuff that you're looking for. Yeah. So if you go into the marketplace, then you'll see they've got professionals ordered by like sort of the development process of your book. So right from what is it, like editing? I don't know the steps, but anyway, it's there on the side.
Right.
They've got a marketing tab. They've got an editing. They've got a website tab, all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
So yeah, I found her there. Then what I did, another cool thing that Reedsy does is it allows you to select a group of them. I think up to like 5 different editors, and that's what I did. I didn't know Brooke. I didn't at the time, and I selected a handful of them, and I sent a proposal to each of them, or request for quote, sorry. And then some of them got back to me. Well, all of them got back to me, and I just kind of went with like the best price for the best value and the best experience that I could get.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's that's a good point too. Is like when it comes to these kind of things, it's like the best price isn't always the lowest price. It's what you're going to get the best value for. That's it.
Yeah. So like look, I don't think there are people like this on Reedsy, but I mean, if there was a person that had a very low price, but like the rest of their profile sucked, I would not have gone for it. I'd rather go for more expensive. I'd rather actually wait. I'd rather wait for like 2-3 months if I can't afford it, like save up that cash. Because the thing is, like, if you're a person that's not just doing this for your family and friends, you're looking to build a career here. Getting a really, really great professional to work on your book is super important.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what else? So it's amazing to see that your book itself is, great, right? Great story, great art. At what point would you say, for instance, because you got stories in your head, where would you ever be in a position where you would say, hey, listen, can somebody write this for me and I'll illustrate it? Or would you say, let me write out a book, can you illustrate it? Or you're very good at wanting to just do both. Like what would to, as you say, making this a career, and you needed to produce more, what would you lean towards?
Wow, that's a good question, because look, it's something that I've bounced around a lot in my head.
Right.
Is this this idea of wanting to eventually ramp up? You know, like I could see myself um, writing and illustrating at least 4 a year,
Right.
but that's only at the point where I'm earning a full-time income and I can spend the time. So that's like what, like 1 every 3 months, right? But then, what if I want to ramp up? Should I take jobs where someone else has written the story and I just illustrate? Or the other way around, like you say, if I write and get somebody else to illustrate. I don't know. I think for me, like the answer that came to my head was eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually, but also I feel as though I have a particular brand that I want to back.
Right.
And it's a brand. I mean, it's part of the reason I got into this, aside from the fun of doing it, is I want to make stories that I would want as a kid, that I would want to buy now.
Yeah.
Like I still see picture books like on shelves that I'm like, damn, that looks amazing. I want to buy it myself. And that's the kind of stuff that I want to make. So I don't think I would ever be like an illustrator where, like an illustrator for hire, where if I got a story, I would take that illustration job for the money.
Right.
I would look at the story and go, does this fit something that I'm happy to put my name on?
Right.
That would almost be synergistic with my brand.
Right.
So yeah, then I would definitely take those stories. On the writing side, look, I know I've got a good couple of years of like learning to get better at both the writing and the illustration. I feel as though the writing, I feel as though like I'm a little bit further ahead in my development with the illustration because I've been doing it like for a lot of my life, but the writing side is definitely new and scary for me. So I need a lot more practice before I get to the point where I'm like busy writing stories and going out to other illustrators. Having said that, it is still very attractive to me because I feel like part of my brand is very strange illustration. I really, really like that. Like the kind of picture books and even graphic novels, like where the artwork is odd. Like it's really weird.
Right.
It's weird, but it speaks to you, like I know in this book I was trying to be very safe, to be honest with you. Like I didn't go too abstract because it was my first. I was like, trying to like make something good. Like the little bit of odd that I put in here was like the farmer's eyes like being like weird.
Yeah.
And I know like I want to lean more into that kind of like strangeness.
Right.
As I get more confidence in my work and as I put out more and more books and as people sort of look at my brand and go, hey, like this guy's known for this. Let me try his new weirder thing. I mean, that's also part of my my career plan is I want to also eventually mess around with a bunch of different mediums, which is a side benefit for me. I mean, I've always wanted to spend time like getting more in depth and more sort of skilled at illustration. And what better way to do that than make it your job, right?
Right.
It just before this, it never occurred to me. There's a lot of other smarter people who knew what they wanted to do with their lives earlier. They went to art school first, and then they got odd jobs and all that kind of stuff. I had to go through like 7 years of corporate
Right.
to figure out that, hey, maybe I should do this art thing. It's great.
No, because you say in your bio on your website, and it mentions on there, that you're an author, illustrator, and a dad and a geek with a deep love for fantastic stories. How does the dad piece fit into your inspiration of writing children's books?
Sure, not much.
Okay, cool.
Like I have to explain that one, right? Because I thought it would. I really, really did think it would. But like, I suppose a lot of parents like find this out, like whatever job that you do, your kids are like, meh. It's so funny. Like I've seen like even you know, have you seen like the Avengers interviews when they talk about the kids? It's exactly the same thing. It's like,
Right.
hey, your dad's like Iron Man or your dad's Thor. What do you think about that? I like Ant-Man, like. So I thought, look, I still hold out hope that eventually one day, like he's gonna be like, cool, I like my son Mike, right?
Yeah.
I like your stuff. I like what you're doing, whatever. But like, so far, he's like, there's some stuff like when we read picture books with him, right? Like he likes some parts of it, but he's not like he'd much rather play Minecraft, than like sit down and read a book,
Right.
Like he likes some of the illustrations, like he draws a lot himself as well. But in terms of like with me writing this book, like one of the things I tried to do in the beginning was to like keep it secret and not show him, and then when it's done, like be like, here it is, here's a book, and then just have him go through it without him knowing that it was me to try and get some, like unbiased sort of feedback.
Right.
And yeah, it just didn't work out. Like I'm working on it at home. He saw the characters, he saw the stuff and whatever. And I remember like the first time like I had the book and I was going through it with him and I was like so conscious of like watching his face and watching his reactions and all that kind of stuff. And I think he was as well. Like he knew that I was doing that.
Right.
And he was like, wow, Dad, so great. It's amazing. Like he was trying to encourage me. So anyway, yeah. I'm gonna be like brutally honest and just say like I'm doing this career because I enjoy it,
Right.
and I think it's probably better that way for me to sort of take that pressure off him to be like, hey, you should go in my direction, or hey, you should really like my stuff. I think it's better to not have that pressure with my son, to just be like honest with myself and be like, I like drawing pictures. I love stories. I've always loved kids' movies. I still cry to like the Kung Fu Panda movies at the end. Like I love them that much. Like I've always loved comics as well. It's my thing, and if kids enjoy it, cool. Yeah.
Well, good. So Arthur, we're knocking at the top of the hour already. So
wow.
Yeah,
See, that was quick.
It goes quick. So if people are interested in wanting to check out your book, Strangekin Press, is that the best place to find it?
Yeah, that's the one.
All right, good. Yeah, you can hit the shop button and boom, right there you can buy it. It's available on paperback, hardcover, and ebook. So yeah.
Cool.
Just like that. And what's next? What's next for Strangekin Press?
So like I was saying earlier, so I'm gonna put together. So I'm gonna go this literary agent route.
Right.
I've got 3 ideas. So they say when you query an agent, you should have so your best work first, but then you should also mention that you've got like 3 others waiting in the wings.
Right.
So I'm gonna need to work. I've got 3 ideas for standalone books. So I'm gonna need to just flesh that out and come up with a 4th idea, right? So I'm just gonna need to skim through my book ideas
Right.
to get up to 4 in the book submission package. I think the requirements are so like a full color cover, the full story written out, and the rest of the pages at least sketched out, as well as one full, so it's a full color cover, 1 full spread, 1 page color as well, but like probably vignettes on that page, and then the rest is like can be rough sketches. So I'm gonna get like at least 3 or 4 books up to that point.
Okay.
At that point, then I'm gonna query an agent, and we'll see. You know, like if they want one of those books, then that'll probably go through the whole process. You know, going out to traditional publishing houses. If they pick it up, as everybody knows, it could be a year or 2 years before that book actually hits shelves. Again, I'm in it for the long haul, so I don't mind. I also know that they are definitely going to reject some books. Those books, I'm probably going to self-publish. So, so yeah, that's what's next. Stuff is coming.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, make sure, Arthur, when your next book comes out, come back on the show.
Please, I would love that.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love that. I'd love to have at least 4. I'll be like, Bonnie, look at my 4. Yes.
And also, I can schedule it earlier, so you don't have to be up at 2:00 in the morning where you are. So we can really do that.
Well, now that I know that would be great.
All right, so I'll let you go, and then I'll let you get some sleep. How about that?
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Have a great day. What's the time by you?
Almost 8 p.m. here, so yeah.
Oh, not too bad.
Not too bad. No, yeah. And you had if you didn't have, I mean, now that you said, Arthur, that you're at like it's 2 a.m. I could have scheduled it earlier if you needed to. That was fun. You didn't have to...
You know what? I thought, like, I'll be honest with you, this is like the first podcast I've been on, so I thought, you know what? Let me not stuff him around. Let me just wake up really early. And then I thought to myself, okay, so I'll wake up at 12:00 and I've got like 2 hours. I'll prepare then. Anyway, so that didn't quite work out. So I'm going to be riffing a lot of this interview, just so you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've done people, and like you're at that neck of the woods. I've done some schedules earlier. So yeah, that was very polite of you to even not even ask. So I would have done it earlier for you.
If I had known that, I would have done it.